preparing the live stream. Okay, and I think we are currently live on YouTube. Hooray. Awesome. So hi, everyone. Welcome for those of you who are watching live on YouTube or watching our recording on YouTube. Welcome. My name is Danny Zagian, and I am the lead instructor for this cohort at Actualize, whose capstone presentations you're about to see right now. You're about to see demonstrations of these students' projects. These guys have been students in the Actualize Coding Bootcamp for about 4 months now, including their pre-work that they've done. And one of the things that I really love the most about my job is that I get to work with very motivated individuals every single day, and people who have come to a boot camp essentially to make a career transition from whatever they were doing before, which we get people from all sorts of industries coming into the web development world and learning how to code and learn those fundamental skills so they can get a job as a web developer, software engineer, programmer. So all of the projects that you're about to see right now have been built from the ground up using the fundamental web development knowledge that they have learned in the past 4 months. So each student that you're going to see built their own back end, built their own front end from the ground up using some frameworks that we taught them in this class to build a full-fledged project. And not only that, but Actualize is actually not a full-time course. We're not an 8-hour-a-day course. And that means that some of our students actually have jobs while they're doing this class, which is extra impressive. And it means that you can learn to code pretty much with whatever schedule you have. So we've taught them essentially how to adopt a developer mentality. This class is basically designed not just to teach you all the coding language fundamentals that you need, but how to actually think like a developer and how to learn new things. The most important skill as a web developer that you can have is the ability to learn new stuff and the ability to teach yourself new things. And that's exactly what we've taught. And a lot of the students' projects that you're going to see include things that I did not directly teach them in this class. And they went out and they taught themselves how to implement using the fundamentals that I did teach them, which is really amazing. So with all that being said, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Jay Wengro, who's the founder and CEO of Actualize, just to say a quick word for a brief minute. He's built Actualize from a single cohort in Chicago. Now we're coast to coast. And he's very, very passionate about the programming or the bootcamp industry. And he's very involved actively in what we do. So Jay, want to say a few words?
Thank you, Danny. I will try to keep it as short as I can. Firstly, thank you everyone who's watching. This is a super exciting day. This marks the graduation of the latest Actualize Online Live cohort. As Danny said, students who take this course are by definition extremely ambitious and motivated. Most people wouldn't even touch coding with a 10-foot pole, but these individuals all said, hey, I can do this. I can learn this stuff. And they have. It's a super intense program and they gave it their all and we're really proud of them. I'm really excited to see each of their capstone presentations as you'll all see shortly. Also want to thank Danny, the amazing lead instructor. She is a phenomenal lead instructor, as all the students will be able to attest to and their projects as well. Also want to thank the TAs, Amanda, Joseph, anyone else who helped out, and want to thank the other panelists who are here with us. And there, I kept it short.
Awesome, thank you. And I am actually briefly going to have the 2 other panelists who've joined us who are going to be asking some questions of our students. I'm going to have you guys just briefly introduce yourselves. So let's start with Alex. Please, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hey, I'm Alex. I'm a software engineer. I just moved from Santa Barbara to Seattle. I actually graduated from the Actualize bootcamp, I think about 3 years ago. Had a couple really great jobs since then, and yeah, excited to see all the projects.
Awesome, thank you. And Robert, brief introduction.
Hey guys, I did Actualize about a year ago, online remote, and I got a job as a junior web developer, you know, working with fun technologies. And when I was in Actualize, I was working full-time too, so living proof you can make the transition, I guess. So that's me.
Awesome. Thank you. Yes, he is, in fact, living proof. Okay, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and get started with our presentations. So our very first lovely presenter is going to be David. So David, why don't you take it away and you can start your screen share.
Good morning, my name is David. I am a craft beer enthusiast and home brewer in Las Vegas, Nevada. And today I'm going to be talking about craft local. The main idea that stemmed from my background in the distribution industry of me working closely with craft breweries and local breweries that we would be picking up and trying to get all the information for all their products, i.e. beer. That main issue would be trying to find all of the right and pertinent information to present to our clientele, which would be the retail side. So that being said, I found that would be extremely helpful for both retail and distribution to have a clear and concise way of viewing all the information both on products, the brewery itself, and maybe events that the brewery might be holding in the local area. So this would be the landing page of Craft Local. This is a handful of breweries from, my hometown. So, and this is a small markup of, basic contact information, what their latest beer would be, so you can know how active that brewery is in producing new SKUs, or if you hear it on the street, you can at least know what type of beer that they're producing. And each link goes to its own respective beer. But as of right now, it's just for breweries. I plan to expand to having more of a patron user interface. But a brewery would log in and start creating their own kind of profile. Oop. So as they log in, they are returned to the landing page. They are now able to view their profile and or edit. They can log out. They'll be able to create new beers on the fly and new events based on whatever they're doing in that particular month. Go straight to their profile. I wanted to kind of formulate each profile for the breweries based on clear, concise information and make it unified. So you see one, you see in the mall kind of thing. There's very minimal customization to like kind of hide the information that you're looking for. This would be Craft House, a brewery in Henderson, which is a little suburb next to Las Vegas. This would be a short introduction of the brewery itself, which is produced by the brewery. This would be a event that is probably showcased within the day or the week, or a very like pinnacle, like an anniversary type event. And then these would be the offerings or the beers by the particular brewery. So if we go to the event will show where the event is located, a short summary of what the event's supposed to be, the beers that were showcased in the events, and when it is, where it is. Pretty easy to look at. And the good thing about this is that the form is really easy to navigate. If I wanted to add an extra beer to the list, it's reflected right there. Oop. And if we just go to profile again, same thing. I kind of wanted to mirror both beer and events almost the same, so you're used to kind of a routine of filling out forms, but even then we're able to edit both the beers. You can change which formats, the picture, the glassware, style, all types. I plan to expand this even further based on like if the brewery wants to showcase what type of hops or what type of yeast was used in the production. So, and going forward, I kind of want to just, again, expand into maybe having a mobile app that could use location services to only filter in the breweries based on location of how far the user wants to travel to get to said brewery, maybe a tap room or an event. For the brewery side, I hope to expand it even more to, again, showing the ingredients, showing batch numbers and stuff, because certain breweries make the same beer over and over again, batch variants and whatnot, and having all those linked up to like where did they get the ingredients, how often do they use the ingredients in case users want to clone said beers. So, I mean, said any questions?
Yeah, this looks great.
Thank you.
Looks super clean. How did you go about the styling aspect of it? Like, how'd you get it to look like this?
The styling, it basically I chose a bootstrap template, and it kind of, as I was building it, it kind of inspired certain aspects of it, like making like really clean and crisp. Like, ironically, the template that I used was Unify, and I kind of wanted to have a unification of data presentation. So I just kept that in mind, as like keep it simple, keep it clean, and that's basically how I went about building it.
Nice.
Yep.
Can you just give us like a short like 30-second run through of like the architecture of like what tech you used overall?
The tech, the back end would be Ruby on Rails, and the front end is Vue.js. And so,
Oh, cool. It's Vue.
Using Bootstrap, a lot of Bootstrap.
Cool. This is great.
Thank
nice
you.
work.
Yep. I hope to keep working on it after the cohort.
Yeah. Sounds like you got a lot of great features in the pipeline.
Yep. I got a lot of work ahead of me. It's definitely the tip of the iceberg that you're saying.
Yeah. Well, there's always more features to add to a web application. It's never over.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David. And yes, this does look very crisp and clean. And one of the things that all of you guys have built is kind of prototypes, right? So none of these projects are necessarily final form. These are all just kind of, this is what I've built for now with the time that I was given. But of course, expanding on that in the future is absolutely something you can continue to work on and hone. And this is awesome, though. So thank you very much, David. And I'm going to have our next presenter share her screen, and it's going to be Janine. So Janine, please take it away.
Hello, everyone. My name is Janine, and I created a platform to connect parents with kid experts. As I was struggling myself to find reliable babysitter for my toddler, I was inspired to create the Kiddo app, which offers better childcare option, and where parents and nannies get connected, and kids are involved with arts and education from early age. So to walk through the app, we can search for a kid expert by their specialty. For example, you can search for dancing, math, and so on. We can sort the nannies by rate or by their name, or the ages that they specialize in, 1 to 2, 2 to 4. So let's say we want music. And we can see the profile of the nanny. We can check for reviews and for location, Denver. In order to book her, we need to log in. So we can see the parent profile here, their personal info, the bookings that they already have with other nannies, the reviews they have left for nannies. They can edit their profile and they can create a new booking. So let's book. So now that we are logged in, we can see the book button. So we can see the new booking details, the name of the nanny, the parent name, parent address. We can edit the booking if we want, or we can leave a review. So now we can log in as a nanny and check her new booking. So this is the nanny profile. Now that she's logged in, there's a different view of the profile. She can edit her profile from here, and she can see her bookings. So we can sort them by date. We can see that new booking here. She can also sort by price, by parent name, and she can find also the parent that she needs for the new booking. She can see her reviews also and the new review that she has. So that is the app. The most challenging part was the dual authentication, creating two types of users and showing different things on the page depending on who's logged in. As far as future features, I would like to implement a map where we can see all the nannies and like a Uber-like animation where we can see how the nanny is moving, what's her location when she's traveling to the parent house, maybe a chat system, and that's it.
Cool. Nice work.
Thank you.
So you said that one of the most challenging parts was figuring out how to have multiple types of users. How did you solve that problem?
I solved it with a lot of conditional logic, both on the back end and the front end. Maybe for future implementations, I would use something like the device gem. But for now, it's all conditional logic.
So you hand rolled it yourself?
Yes.
Is there like an attribute on the database user table that tells what type of user they are?
Actually, I went and created two different tables. I thought it would be better this way, so I created a parents table and nannies table, so that when we create the booking, we can have a join between these two tables rather than a self join on the same user's table.
Cool. Yeah, looks great. A lot of features in there.
Awesome. Yeah, I don't even think Janine demoed all of her features. She has so many cool features. Fantastic. Thank you so much for demoing your project. And our next presenter is going to be TMA. So please, TMA, why don't you share your screen and show us what you got?
Awesome. I'm not getting a prompt yet. There we go. What? For some reason, my Chrome just disappeared. Okay, guys, good morning. My name is TMA Rogier, and my capstone project is called Walden for Men. So to give you guys a little bit of a background story on the project, I'm a big fan of this show called Queer Eye for the Straight Guy. And they did, Netflix did a new rendition of it 3 seasons ago. And there's this guy on the show called Karamo, who's like the cultural expert. And in the 3rd season, I noticed Karamo looking a little different. And upon further research, I saw an interview where he was talking with his co-stars about the fact that for the last several seasons, he had been struggling with male pattern baldness and was doing all of these things to mask his condition. And finally, it took his co-stars to be like, hey, like, you look amazing. This isn't a big deal, for him to embrace what was happening to him and to feel confident about it. And I thought, if someone like Karamo, who's like a TV personality, literally advocates for self-love and acceptance, is having an issue with something so natural, how do other men deal with it and feel about it? So that was the kind of like the seed for the idea. And then I went out and did further research and found out that through user interviews, a lot of men, when they're going through it, male pattern baldness, they don't really have a support network of people to talk to. There are sites like Reddit, like r/bald, and a couple of like YouTube videos out there. But for most men, either they feel uncomfortable talking about it with people in their lives, or they kind of, just like ignore what's happening. And then like occasionally it comes up and then they spend a lot of time researching it. And for something that happens to so many men, 85% of men will go through some sort of hair thinning before the age of 50. It seems like a really big thing that people just like aren't really talking about. So that's the seed for the idea. So let's get started with the site. So we have the homepage, and then create an about page that kind of talks about what Walden's for, which is a declaration for balding men to find solidarity and self-love and acceptance. And users can sign up, and it's a typical sign-up page. The difference here is that the users will select the type of hair, like a hair type that they resonate with, and we can create a user. So like Johnny, I don't know. Oops. Okay, take an image. Okay. I'm gonna sign up with a different user actually, because I can't demo the features with the other ones. That was silly. Okay. So when a user logs into Walden, they have access to a bunch of different posts that have been made by other users. And these posts are like hair loss tips. The whole point of the site is for people to be able to comment on like posts that they're seeing that other users have created. So Alex can, you know, in response to Danny's post, be like, this was so helpful. And other users can then reply to it, you know, and be like, love this. And the goal is for people to kind of create conversation around ideas and tips that people are posting on the site. And users can also like delete their replies and edit comments. I wanted users to be able to edit comments because initially my idea was that you would have to delete a full comment. But I think that because this is meant to be like an interactive site for people, editing the comments like allowed, people can like maybe ask something that they forgot, like, oh, here's something else. I don't know. Okay. Users obviously then can also create a post. The posts get associated with different tags, and yeah, that's pretty much like all the features for the site. The difficulties that I had with the site were creating tags and having them associated with different posts. I eventually want to add filtering for the posts so that users can find tags that are more related to them. And also I want to add a quiz for users in a chat box so that it makes the site more interactive. Yeah, and that's my project. I'd like to open up the floor for any questions.
Nice. It's hilarious. So what was something that was especially easy about this?
It was really easy. I think like my site is pretty simple actually. Like the actual, like once I like figured out like all the data that I wanted to put in there, like implementing it wasn't too difficult because it's pretty straightforward. Like, users have posts, users have comments and replies. Like posts have different tags associated with them. So the different like data types are pretty easy for this site.
Cool. So it looks like you've done some back end, some front end, some styling, some data. If you could choose your job based on what you enjoyed most about building this, what type of work would you be doing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty evident based off my site. I am very, I love the styling part the best. Like I think that was the thing that I actually really wanted for this site, was something like visually appealing to make a topic that people don't really want to talk about more accessible. I think like aesthetics get overlooked a lot, and sometimes like people don't know why a website feels good or they want to use it. And yeah, like just like the attention to like the smaller details helps people like actually want to engage with a community online. Cool.
What stage am I? Am I like stage 2?
Oh, well, user discretion, like there's no, well, actually, what?
That quiz.
Yeah, the quiz. Well, I want to use actual research because there's actually a lot of stuff out there on different types of hair loss and different like how people like fall into certain buckets. And there's like a whole thing on it. I want to use actual like science-based, research to go and create quizzes so men can have more clarity. Like I have a friend who's going through balding and he was like, I don't know how this is going to happen for me. Like I know it's happening. It's really stressful figuring out like what solutions or what haircuts or what products work the best for me. And to have like feedback on that and help with it, I think would be, like help take the stress off of making decisions.
Cool. Well, nice job. Looks really good.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, TMA. And I too love Queer Eye and Paramo. The story resonates. All right. Thank you so much, TMA. Our next presenter is going to be Benjamin K. So Benjamin K, why don't you go ahead and share your screen?
Right. All right, my name is Benjamin Camp. I am from Chicago, where it's a great place to golf, about sometimes of 3 months a year. So that was my inspiration for the app. I have some family that join a tournament every year. It's very competitive, and they play over 4 days and different like competitive scoring formats. Rules for scoring. But the limit that they run across is they're keeping track of this in a bunch of Excel sheets. It's not very easy to update or view for everybody. So I wanted to create something that was a little more intuitive and easy to do. And hopefully I will join them someday if I'm good enough. So get right into it. Pretty simple register and login. Login as a existing user for now. To start, we're going to see the sort of list of players and their historical stats here. They will edit their own stats, or they can change their profile information as they go. We can create a new tournament for everybody to join, or we can go to an existing one and add some rounds and things. I'll go into one that I created that's happened already. So you can see sort of a list of the match scores so far. And this shows the course information. Just pop up a little map here. And if we edit the course, spend some time implementing this map that will change based on the course that you select. And if I change one, actually add a new course here. This serves as a search. So as you're entering what you know about the course, the map will change and show the correct course. So if I want to add this course, I could just copy that information. And if I know this now, I can add it, or I can change that later. For now, I'll just add the course and select it in my dropdown. And now you see the course changes. And if anybody needs to find the course when they're playing, they have this easy access here. Here, these are just kind of matches that have already been entered. So the kind of results of the entire match. You can see details here as well. So the hole by hole points that they score. And also, as they're planning new matches, they can, of course, assign the teams. I set this up so that you can see all the player stats pretty easily as you're choosing the players that you want on each team. They go through sort of a draft process to pick this, so just an easier interface to see how players have been doing. And then they have this empty match that they can, again, once they've played, they can update their scores. One of the biggest challenges here was just all the, it's all very data heavy. So trying to come up with a way not only to get it to display nicely, but also to get all the data to work together nicely and be able to access everything was the kind of the hardest part. There's a lot of different tables working with each other. I could show you, for instance, like the match is doing a lot at one time. It's creating teams and then assigning users, and then if anything doesn't go right, it's destroying everything at the same time. And the views were interesting to create as there's a lot of nested arrays and things to make sure that for each component you can see all the teams and the players and everything together. So that was fun. One of the biggest things about this, let's see. I want to, there's a lot of features I want to still add, but namely I want to add things like more scoring options where it will automatically, based on the strokes they play and their handicaps, they will calculate what the results between the two teams are. And I obviously want to make it look a lot more better for the styling. And I also want to add more control with the like the commissioner that can add players to the tournament and to basically moderate the thing. So a few things I want to add to it. Thanks so much.
Awesome. And just as a side note, just to let y'all know, when he came to me and proposed this schema, I had to sit down and work with him to wrap my head around it, because there's so much data and it's all so intertwined and it's really complex. So just like really amazing job getting all of this to work together.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that's cool. Have you thought about adding some tooltips for people like me who don't know all the golf jargon? Or am I just not your target user?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure if I'm understanding exactly what you're.
So there's just like a lot of acronyms and stuff on the page that I don't know what it means.
I see. That's a good point. I could definitely clean that up for sure. This was, originally geared towards people who have been playing and that have already kind of doing these tournaments, so they generally know. But I definitely want to in the future make it more user friendly for everybody.
Cool. I thought the feature where the map automatically searches as you type is really cool. Can you talk a little bit about how you figured out how to do that?
Yeah, I use the Google Maps API. So basically, they have a pretty easy option. Honestly, it's basically a search for a location that you can enter, and it brings back the location and shows you the embedded map. So I just used the edit fields as the search criteria. I put them together so that it will find it in the Google Maps API, and it brings it back as that embedded map.
Cool. Yeah, great work.
Thanks so much.
Awesome. Thank you, Benjamin. And our next presenter is Paul. So Paul, why don't you turn on your screen share and show us what you have built?
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Paul, and welcome to my cookbook. So, my original inspiration for this was mostly that in my free time, I'm a big baking nerd, and I like to make mainly breads and cakes and cookies and stuff, but I also need to be able to eat regular human food. So I figured I would make it a little more broad. So we'll start here. It's a pretty basic index of all the recipes. And you can click on any one of them. It'll take you to the show page. So we can go to our mammoth recipe. It has a little blurb you can add, because people often like to add little stories to the recipes they post. You get a small category up here. And then just other basics. Got your prep time, cook time, ingredients, directions, links where you can share down here, and a comment section. You can, of course, edit your recipe, but only if you are the owner of it. It'll pop up like this, but if I click submit, it'll tell me I'm not allowed to. Although anybody can comment. You just fill in the forms here, and it'll pop up below Elzar here. So at the moment, I am signed in as Zap Brannigan. He just got some basic info here. You've got your profile picture, name at the bottom, short bio, and an email. If you click the edit button, it'll take you to the edit page where it'll fill in everything for you as it already stands, but of course you can change it. Same, of course, is not true for the password. It just kind of gives you asterisks like anybody else. And Say I wanted to submit a recipe. I just click here. Same form structure. There is a little more information that goes into this one, but it leaves you some space to kind of be creative and add things that work for you. And so let's see. This is a bug I haven't been able to figure out yet. Sometimes the rendering breaks on my home page. And okay, so one of the things that I was proud of being able to implement was getting the comments to show up, which I didn't think I would want to brag about, but it wound up being harder than I thought it would be. So I am proud of it now. Another thing that I did but have not been able to showcase is the vote logic, because this site was originally intended to be a cookbook app, which is what I was able to do. But I had also wanted to be able to implement below these comments a suggestion field where instead of including your suggestions in your comment, you can just put them on their own so they're a little easier to find, and the users don't have to do quite as much digging to get to them and find the good nuggets. On top of that, I did write some back-end logic for people to be able to vote on those suggestions, and eventually with the goal of having the ones with the highest vote counts rising to the top and becoming the most visible. I would say that the thing that I struggled with the most was just theme implementation. I really liked the theme I picked, but it wound up, and of course we were warned about this, it wound up being a little more complicated than it was than I had originally planned on. But on the bright side, it did teach me a lot about front end stuff like HTML and CSS and just how to work around with Vue, which is awesome because now I feel more prepared to move this from prototype to, well, I guess prototype version 2. And in the future, I would like to implement that suggestions field with the option to vote. And just another small thing, I would actually like to make the comments and suggestions into modals, especially in the new and edit category. And that's it.
Nice project, Paul. This is great. And some of these recipes truly look delicious. I can't wait to try them out. Where did you come up with the idea for this app?
Really, I just pulled it out of my day-to-day. I wound up with some dietary restrictions back in March. I had some medical issues that made it so that I had to go on an extremely low-fat diet, as well as like cutting out gluten and corn and milk and like every other thing that's in every food. So I kind of had to learn how to cook on my own, and wanted to make it possible for me to be able to I guess filter out things that I know aren't going to work for me. So that was the idea with the suggestions. I could look and see like maybe if there's an option to make it gluten-free, that sort of thing will usually rise to the top very quickly because that's a pretty common problem.
Got it. So at some point, would you consider adding a feature where you can label certain recipes as like gluten-free or vegetarian or whatever?
Absolutely. This theme actually came with some architecture to include tags. I'm one of the people who's been working through this program and just kind of wound up running out of time to add that.
Sure. No, this is a great project, really impressive, and it looks great. And I love the sense of humor as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. And yes, thank you for implementing my suggestion of Captain Zap Brodigan. Love it. All right, so our next presenter who's going to now share their screen with us is going to be Mark. So please, Mark, take it away.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Mark Harrison. My capstone is called the Mind Warrior Project. And the problem that I was trying to solve is veteran suicide. I was inspired to create a platform for veterans or anyone who is struggling to maintain positive mental health. And the concept for the application is to provide a space for people to unplug, meditate, decompress, and then seamlessly plug back in via social media and what I call the newsroom without having to leave the site. So you do not need an account to utilize the site. Here we are on the homepage. You can jump right in down here and go meditate, but we are going to go down to the header and quickly read the mission statement, which is MWP is dedicated to helping you rank up and make the most of your career by infusing mental health into your personal care routine, increase intelligence, focus, and calm under chaos. Meditate in mindfulness mode, store your favorites in My Hub, and then jump into the newsroom and stay current on all news that might affect where you're going next into the world. I've incorporated a Twitter link to the Mind Warrior Pro homepage and a super cool motivation. So I'm pretty excited about that. We're going to hop into mindfulness mode. Here is your meditations index center. So up here we have a content filter for breath meditations, sitting, or body scans. I'm lacking functionality there, but I will incorporate that ASAP. And here we have different types of meditations with repetitive images so you know what type of practice that you are dealing with. From this page, you can play a meditation here. You can favorite it and send it to your own personal homepage space called My Hub. And yeah, so that's where the meditation content is delivered. Once you've stored Hub, and this is your space. Here you have the meditations that you have stored and favorited, and you can access those here. You can play those here. You have a Spotify widget, which has been embedded in the iframe. And currently, as the admin, I have control over this content. Eventually, the user will be able to curate and import their own playlists. On sign up, if you are in the military, you can populate your military skill scores, and these are metrics that are important to soldiers, so it's important that they keep track of them. And down here, you just have your user information, name, email, and active and working links to all of your own social media accounts: Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Instagram, Pinterest, and of course, another cool motivational video. Once you've meditated, once you've explored your own personal hub and spent some time there, I encourage all my users to hop over to the newsroom. Here you will find an eclectic group of news. You can jump into the news stories here, and they'll open up in a new page and send you to the link of the story. And now this news is curated for national and international. It is, to the best of my ability, non-biased, and really kind of proud of the fact that these third-party APIs give you access to that non-biased and global information. Let's see. Some things I struggled with: incorporating Bootstrap themes. I had to sacrifice or compromise functionality for style, or style for functionality. I know that will change as I get better as a developer. You know, and as long as I maintain that growth mindset, I'm sure everything will work out. There are some future technologies that I would love to implement, and you guys will be introduced to those technologies later in these presentations, as some of my classmates have built some amazing apps that I hope to incorporate. So that is it. That's what I got.
Really great project, Mark. In this last page, in the news page, are you curating those articles right now?
Just national and international. So eventually the user will be able to input their own zip code or whatnot and get their own local news. But for now, it is just national and international.
But are you picking the stories, or are you getting it from like an API or something?
I'm getting it from a third-party news API.
Okay, that's really cool. Do you know the name of the API?
I do. It's actually called News API.
Okay. Is there a specialty about having non-biased news? Is that the idea?
It's not their specialty, but it's the way they deliver their content. So you're not getting, you know, it's not just, well, MSNBC or Fox. You're getting both of those and everything in between.
Got it. Very cool. I think it was on the main page or whatever you call it, there were like these progress bars. I think
Sure.
below the Spotify widget.
Mhm.
So is that right now hard coded, or can someone?
These are hard coded at the moment, but they have dynamic functionality to them. So you are able down here at the bottom of your own.
Oh, it seems like Mark is having some internet difficulties right now. I think he said something about hard-coded. I'm pretty sure that Spotify widget is hard-coded and you don't need to be logged in for that. But I think these are coming from a form that's on his sign-up page.
Sure.
While he has technical difficulties, I will answer the question. I believe.
Okay, thank you. And Mark, if you can hear me, or when you can hear me, this is a really great project.
Yeah, he's got some internet issues. Okay, awesome. So our next student that's going to be presenting is Kelly.
Sorry about that. Desperately trying to find my unmute, and looks like we've achieved that. I'm Kelly Buhager. I'm a saxophonist in Buffalo, New York. I'm introducing my Actualize Capstone project called the Practice Journal. In my lifetime, tools for musical mastery have gone from physical objects to the digital realm. So things that once upon a time were things I had to carry around, like metronomes and tuners, are now apps that live on my phone. There is, however, still an app that, or a tool that's in the analog realm for me, and that is my practice journal. I use the practice journal to basically manage the most important finite resource we all have, and that is time. Typically, a lot of musicians report that maintaining a practice journal is kind of a game changer for them. It certainly was for me. So when thinking about this project, creating a digital practice journal, I thought about the way that the tools like metronomes and tuners have changed. They provide new kinds of functionality. Metronome apps, for example, can be programmed to play different meters, or tuner apps could be set up to record and track your intonational tendencies. And so I thought about what kinds of things I might be able to bring to the practice journal. Maybe I could have something where it would be searchable. I could kind of display metrics about how I practice, maybe things that I'm not paying enough attention to, that sort of thing, new ways to track my behavior, new kinds of motivational things. Hey, I see I practiced for the last 21 days. I should keep this streak going, that sort of thing. So my hope, my desire, my plan was to try to create a flexible app that kind of stayed out of the way. We're going to go ahead and log in and see what the heck this is up to. The command center for this app is the session index. And basically, typically, if I'm going to be practicing, what I would likely do is I'm soaking my reed right now, and I'm kind of looking over my previous sessions and seeing what I had to say to myself, and kind of seeing what I thought maybe my next agenda would be. I see here that I made a note to myself to compare the bird to the mire next time. Okay, yeah, let's check that out. I'm going to create a new session. It's going to focus on my new mouthpiece, my new mire mouthpiece. In a more perfect world, this date would have automatically propagated. We live in a less than perfect world, but we'll perfect that world down the road. I'm going to start. Let's say I'm starting at 10 a.m. I'm just going to make a note to myself. I'm trying my new mire, and first thing I'm going to do is some overtones. It's a great tonal study. Something like overtones, I don't need to, there are no resources for that. I'm not playing a tempo for that or anything. Probably don't even really have any notes for it. Let's say that I spent 20 minutes on overtones. Feels pretty good. In other words, I'm done. I finished my overtones. No notes for that. I can specify the kind of musical challenges this is supposed to address by working on those overtones. I'm going to keep on moving along here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to work on my Kenny Garrett solo, one of my favorite alto saxophonists. I actually do have a resource for this. It's a transcription of one of his solos. Let's go and grab that right now. So that is, we'll paste this terrifying Dropbox URL. I'm going to play that at 90 beats per minute. It seems like that might be kind of slow, but that's the tempo that Kenny's playing it at. It's a funk tune, so it's kind of busy. It's kind of a lot of work. And hey, I'm done. I spent 35 minutes on Kenny's thing. Really nothing to say about it. Typically, I might note here that working on overtones is good for your technique. Working on transcription is good for your technique, your vocabulary. Something about this bootstrap theme broke my checkboxes, and that's really what these are, is checkboxes. So it's something I still have to address, and we'll see what happens with that down the road. Real quick, one last thing I'll do is throw in an alt. Working on the alt scale, Kenny used that a lot on his on that solo that I just worked on. We'll do it at Kenny's tempo of 90. I'll set it for, it was working on that scale, and it's an F sharp minor. I'm done. It was okay. Probably use some more work. Once again, we'll skip action 4. We'll just move right along. Hey, it's 1 p.m. already. It's a good session. Kind of hungry. The Myers is a great piece. So I will submit that. And then I have this sort of reference of this latest session. It would be unusual for me to, it might be unlikely that I would need to actually edit this or delete it. But I can do that in the case I am going to delete this session, because it turns out it was all just a lie. None of this actually happened. So let's just go ahead and make this session go bye-bye in car. I'm just going to go ahead and delete it. And so that's the basic functionality of working through the app. The challenges for me were actually just, I wanted to make a really flexible kind of app that would let people do lots of things. And as a result, I didn't plan as well as I might have for this. And so I ended up changing my schema a couple of times while I was actually coding. I don't recommend that. Danny doesn't either. And Danny will eventually become increasingly potentially violent if you keep on trying to pull that off. So, but she finally let me make this happen and work this through. The most compelling aspect of this app is going to be the metrics. They're not quite ready for prime time yet. In other words, the kinds of ways of tracking. I feel like I have a good infrastructure for taking in the data. Next is going to be having some fun with it. So that's what I got. And I just want to say also, the last few months have been incredibly rewarding working through the Actualize curriculum. And I'm just, really, really just delighted to have had this experience. So thanks a lot.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And just to comment on the increased violence, there was none of that. Yeah, no, this is wound up. I think Kelly kind of made this seem almost simpler than it is. Kelly has a lot of nested relationships here. He has sessions which have many actions, and each of those actions has many tags associated with it. So there's a lot of nesting going on here, a lot of complication that we worked through, and that I helped him refine throughout multiple versions of the schema. Yeah, and it's been a pleasure to work with you, Kelly. So, Jay, please, questions.
This is an awesome app, Kelly, and a great presentation as well. I am curious to know, do you think you can apply this app idea to, let's say, practicing coding, or would it be a totally different thing?
I absolutely think the concept is the same. And in fact, at some point through as I was coding this, I was thinking to myself, this could actually become an even more flexible framework. I know that athletes or folks who work out in the gym keep their own kinds of ways of tracking stuff. So yeah, as I thought about this further, I thought there are various ways this actually could have other kinds of uses.
Awesome. I don't know if you recall some of the an example of schema changes. Maybe it's all a blur, but do you recall some like an example of what was it a change in your idea that caused the schema change, or how does that work?
Well, what happened was I as I started coding, my initial notion was that you would define your goals first of all, and then based on your goals, you would then generate practice topics off of those goals. The problem was that's not really how as I started coding, I realized at some point that's not really how I practice. I don't think, what is my goal? I actually just look at the previous sessions and kind of think, what needs. I mean, the goal is always in the back of my mind, but it's not really what's driving the individual, like I'm going to play overtones now, that kind of thing. So that's those. And as I started making those changes, yeah, that was when I was like, oh, I'm going down a cul-de-sac here. I got to get out of this.
Got it. So as your vision for the app changed, the database schema would have to change naturally.
Exactly.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I think it's really cool. I think this is a very useful and practical app, and I hope you do continue it. I'd love to see some of that metric stuff at some point.
Absolutely will, and thank you.
Okay, great, Kelly.
Hey, Kelly, before we move on, if you want someone to talk about transitioning from jazz musician to software, that was my previous career.
I saw that gear behind you, man. So yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, we should talk.
Cool.
Actualize, bringing people together. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much, Kelly, for your presentation. And our next presenter is going to be Israel. So Israel, why don't you share your screen and show us what you've built?
I'm sorry. It took me another minute to get situated here with changing from mute to the other ones. Hi, my name is Israel Haas, and I am Chicago-based. Welcome, everybody, and share with you my capstone that I did with the support of Danny and the entire Actualize group and Mr. Wengro. So as I have relatives in recovery, I felt that a lot of people, when they have addictions or self-help, they do not take enough serious the subject, or they have a lot of shame. So my app was built to break the shame. So no more shame, recovered today. Now this is enough is enough. A little bit different than the coding didn't come out 100% well. How much longer will I wallow in pain and procrastinate? So this is, I'll be one of them that are going to recover. So before the person even signs in, he's able to see that addictions are out there. Some of them came in twice from the seating. Addictions are out there in numerous ways, self-help, and all kinds of issues have recovery. And it's not a shame to go out and get help. Once you go into recovery, there are step works. So you have click me to start writing a new step work. And these are step works that exist already, just they're not fully filled out. But this is the index of all of them that one would have when they're done. So this is how they'll have, this is my work on step 9. This is the step work that I went through with my sponsor and whatever. This is my own journal. And then I can edit the step work and switch around, add words, whatever, add components, update step work. Then you have, again, the show, and back to all step work. So this is the step work part. Now the most interesting part of the 12 steps is step 4 inventories. So there are 3 types of inventories. Here you have all the resentment inventories, and here you have all the harm inventories, and here you have all the fear inventories. So click me to start writing a new inventory. So the type of inventory, it depends on the type of inventory, because one type has some different things that you put in than the other. So confirm that it's a resentment, it's confirmed. Now you have part A, which is 3 columns. And the reason I made it in 3 columns is because this is the way that 12-step work. And this is the way it's recommended from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. So I made 3 columns. I worked hard on that. And when you finish the 3rd column, the book says that you go to a 4th column and try to work on that. So the 4th column, where was I selfish? Where was I dishonest? Where was I self-seeking? Where was I frightened? And when I completed the 4th column, I can go and try the next column if I want to, or I can click here to save it. So I go here and I get into a recommended 5th column. How can I now be selfless, opposite of selfish? And the same rigorous, honest, opposite, all these opposites. Now when I'm finished with that, I can click here to keep myself accountable. Did I complete a 5th step on this? Did I complete an 8th step on this? Did I complete a 9th step on this? Important test for myself. Am I getting the promises? Did I get all the promises? So if I say no, or if it's, then I did not yet get the promises. And the promises will come if I start doing again from steps 4 to 9. Yes, I got it. Great, good for you. So here is, again, all these inventories. Yet when I go in to look at them, here are the first 3 columns. Now this person shows all those that affects him. They'll show, and they will show how was I selfish, where was I dishonest. Everything is going to come in their place. And the 5th step, 8th step, 9th step will be here if they did it. And I was set great. I was set free, great. Okay, I don't want to keep you longer. It's late. I hope to add things to this. I'm not going to add more words right now because I don't want to take away the time from others. Have a wonderful Friday, a wonderful afternoon.
Great project, Israel. It's really a really meaningful project. Well, since there is time allotted for me to ask questions, I can ask the question of what else would you be interested in adding to this project?
I wanted to make a sponsor-sponsee relationship that the sponsor can see where I'm holding. When I put in a 3 columns, when I put in a 4th step, when I put in a 5th step, and he can message me and tell me reminders that I should do the next thing. And also, in the big picture, I would like to make a form for each different addiction that there is. There's like 60 addiction recovery groups. For each one, a form for the people to schmooze to each other, and also to have a separate index of the 4 steps and the step works for each of their addictions. And have a separate sponsor for each of their addictions.
Got it. You mentioned that there are at least 60 different kinds of recovery groups. Do they all follow this same template?
So the main template is the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. Mm-hmm. Some people tweak here, tweak there. And I did have in mind to make a few other styles. They're all similar. However, this is the big book sponsorship type. The big book, those who are running to the big book do this way, no matter which addiction it is. But most of those people who cling to the old idea, to the old recovery idea, they use this template. However, one of the things that I have in the icebox is to make several types of forms. It's the same backend, but several types of front ends for different people who have different ways that they deal with it.
Got it. How did you like, do each of the steps here, how are they stored in the database? Do you have like different tables for steps or different columns?
So for the fourth step, I have a table, and I added columns. I added columns to make sure that with a click of a button, there's a Boolean that tells my sponsor that it's 3 steps are done. And that's also the button that I use to go to the next level. So the sponsor will get every single Boolean of a step that I'm there, the sponsor will get true or false.
Got it. So because each of the steps looks like they're sort of different, that adds a lot of complexity, I would imagine, to building an app like this.
Yes, the fourth step is, in this place, it's divided in 3. Some people put a sex inventory also, but a harm inventory and sex inventory are the same thing.
Right. Okay. Really nice job, Israel. Really great work.
Awesome. Thank you, Israel. And I actually did also learn a lot about this while Israel was attempting to explain it to me. We talked a little bit about my gaming addiction and things like that, got pretty personal. But thank you so much for presenting, Israel. Our next presenter is going to be Brian.
All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Brian from Los Angeles, California. Thanks to our panelists for being here and everybody out on the YouTube live stream. My project that I'm presenting today is called Slate. And my wife is actually an assistant director, so she works on film and television. And as part of her job, she's tasked with hiring production assistants. And a lot of times that's done over text message. So reaching out to people and saying, hey, are you available? Do you know anybody else is available to work, this job? We thought, well, we'll build this app that will bring this all online and try to make this process a little bit more efficient. So we'll run through how this works. Everybody needs to sign up with an account in order to access it. I won't do an account here, but something to note is the resume and the images here are uploaded to Cloudinary for asset management. We'll log into an account. And it's going to dump you on a project page. So this is a list of all the projects that currently exist. You can search for projects. So these are all the commercials. You can do some sorting. Clear this out. And so let's check out this user profile page here. Let me refresh this. And so the user profile page, how it's broken down is this left rail is all the information about the user when they create the profile. You can edit, delete. Here's all the links out to IMDb page, resume, contact info, etc. You have my projects. So these are the jobs that the user has created. And then you have applications. So these are jobs that the user might have worked. So we'll go in and we'll actually check out this project that Nick Cage has. So you get some additional details here. He happens to be looking for a second AD. It tells you the number of positions for this project. It's not like a traditional job where it's just a one-to-one. This project can have many jobs. And then down here, you can see the applicants, so the people that have applied to this job. Right now, we don't have any. So it just so happens that over here, we have a new user called Holly Hunter. She just happens to be a second assistant director. So if you scroll down, you see she doesn't have any applications. Let's go look at some projects. And she sees, yeah, this feature film by Cage looks pretty good. Let's check it out. He is looking for a second AD. I'm a second AD, so let's go ahead and apply. And then you get this note that says you successfully applied. And now if we come over here and refresh the page, you're going to see that Holly Hunter now shows up in the applicant section. We have some sorting here, and you can actually favorite which works. It's not going to really do anything because there's only one offer. And And so now I'm Nick, and I'm going to say, I can go look at her profile, but for sake of time, I'm just going to say, hey, she's great. Let's go ahead and hire her. So we've gone and we've made that offer. So now under Holly's profile, scroll back over here, you're going to see that now she has this down here that says, hey, under my applications, right, it says, congratulations, you've been offered this job. Now the next thing that she would need to do is confirm, just to make sure that she, actually wants it. Looking forward to working on this. Call me if you have any questions. She accepts it. We'll come back over here and do a refresh. And now you can see that the application status changed, that Holly Hunter has accepted this. And do a refresh here. And a congratulations message. So both of these sync up, and that connection has now been made. Something else I have is this concept of notifications. Doesn't work on that smaller screen resolution, but you can see that Holly applied. So the project owner for this is getting a message that somebody who applied to this film, and then they can go and check it out. You can just destroy it if you want. You don't need to, keep all those applications there. Something else to point out is, like, if you were to go to a project page that has all the positions is full, you're going to get a little notifications and saying it's full, and then that apply box basically gets shut down, telling the user that, sorry, that project is fully staffed. So that's a project in a nutshell. I think one of the most difficult things for me was just all the various conditionals. There's still some that I'm probably actually missing that I have to go back and revisit. I think I do have some code up here. But yeah, just to, a lot of v-ifs, v-else ifs, and ifs to get to, what I need to do depending on who's logged in and who's not logged in. Something that I thought was pretty fun to do with Cloudinary was they have this concept of transforming images. So you upload an image, and then they face detect and then crop, so you get consistent images across the board. So that's my project. Thanks for your time.
Awesome job, Brian. That looked really cool, and I like how you had to. I'm assuming you had to consult your wife a bit to build this, huh? To like figure out the process.
Well, I've heard so much. Like, I'm pretty much an expert, assistant director by this time. But yeah, no, she had definitely helped out a lot.
Yeah, that's awesome. I guess one question is, what would you say like your favorite feature was to add to the application or work on, or run by your wife? Like, what was the most fun thing to implement?
I mean, I think for me, just the theme in general was the most exciting part of it. It was pretty challenging because I don't have a lot of imagery, just in the app itself. And it felt like a lot of the themes are very image heavy. So I felt like I had to kind of cobble some components, and nothing really quite worked out of the box as I expected.
Cool. And do you have like a future feature that you are most excited for and want to add?
Yeah, I think so. Adding like a user index page and the ability to invite a user to a project. So not only just having like a pull model, but a push model where I can, actually try and invite people that are already part of the platform.
That's awesome, man. I think you did a great job here. Excited for you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. Brian actually has so much conditional logic and cool features in his app that I had to he couldn't demo all of them because he didn't have time. There's so much cool stuff going on here. And it turned out awesome. So thank you so much, Brian. And our next presenter is going to be Caitlin.
Hello, everyone. I am Caitlin Higgins, and I live in Chicago. So this idea for my project was kind of a group effort between some friends and I. We were having a pretty deep conversation about morphic resonance and collective consciousness. And we were kind of wondering if there is any connection that could be made between people's dreams. And it made us kind of, curious on if there have been any big studies that have been done, with a lot of data that scientists and people studying dreams and sleep would have access to. So that kind of prompted us to create a platform to discover a little bit more about why we dream, what role dreaming plays in our lives, and find connections and find some cool patterns. So we wanted to make an app or a site to kind of accomplish that goal. So a little bit about how it works here, and I can go over this also a little bit more when we enter a dream. You can kind of see, I'll walk you through this all. And our mission, to build a platform to inspire people, find and map connections in sleep and dreams. So you can see charts and maps without being signed in. And I'm going to show you more about these once we do sign in. So I'm going to go ahead and I have a dream. So you can register here. We are actually going to just log in because it's a little quicker. Log in Claude. Okay, so this is Claude's show page. So you can see that he can enter a dream, he can edit his account, he can search for his dreams. So these are all the dreams that have, certain words in them. You can scroll down and see all of his dreams. Let's demo. He can edit his account. He can enter a dream. So let's go ahead and quickly enter a dream. So strands are essentially tags. These are freeform tags, so you can call them whatever you want. So let's say animal, and I'm just gonna do a couple for now. Frog. And I'm just gonna copy and paste some stuff I have prepared to enter this dream. A theme is more like the style of dream that it was. These are predefined, so you can just choose which ones are applicable to your dream. And then I'm gonna put your information in here, the contents of your dream, and add a URL for a photo. So if I submit the dream, you can see it here. I can edit the dream. So I can edit the tags, or I can edit, the actual description, any of that stuff. So now if we want to check out, so my dream web is that user's page, their personal page. The collective dream web is everyone's dreams, and you can search for them, or you can sort them by a type. You can click on a tag and go to the tags show page. So let's see dreams that have escape in them. So these all contain the word escape in some way. They have a tag for escaping, for escape, I mean. So the strands, which is the tags, this is the strands page. It is loading a little slow right now, my apologies. So this is a bubble chart that I used a third-party JavaScript library called HiCharts for. And there, if you hover over the tag, it shows how many occurrences there are of that tag. The blue tags are dream tags, and the gray tags are theme tags. So the more, differentiation that there is, like most of them look pretty similar in size right now, but when a lot of data is plugged in, you'll be able to see the size changes in that much more clearly. So, and if you click on these, it will bring you to the tag show page also. So dreams with chili tags would be that one. So the next up, we have a map of users' dreams and their tags. You can zoom in on an area. So let's say I live in Texas and I want to see what people are dreaming about here. So I can see these tags for this user. and then a list at the bottom of all of the tags, which also are links, and you can search through them to, get a little inspiration maybe for a project. Some struggles or some things that were difficult were working through trying to get the homepage with the Particle.js to talk to the dynamic sliders from my theme. So trying to put those two together in one was pretty intense. And then the logic for determining tags and their popularity was another kind of fun thing to do. So thank you all for watching.
Awesome job on that. I'm a big dreamer. I have a lot of weird dreams, and so this resonates with me for sure. And a side question: have you seen the show The OA? Because they kind of do like dream analysis, so it made me think of that.
Yeah, kind of one thing that I think we had been watching it recently when the idea came to mind.
Yeah, cool. So a question for you is, it sounds like you used a few different libraries, Particle.js, and I might have seen you were using Mapbox too. Which one was the most fun to like use, and which one gave you the most challenges?
I would say that the most fun to use was Particle.js. It was a kind of neat to plug in different photos and play with the different settings, and surprisingly simple to come up with how the visual part of it was going to look. Plugging it in was a little bit different. Now that I know how to do it, I could do it in 5 minutes, but it took me a few hours.
Yeah.
The most difficult one to configure was definitely Mapbox. That took a few tries and it almost didn't make it in, but it made it in.
Nice. Awesome. I guess my last question would be, do you think you would like, what other features would you add, or actually I have a better question. You seem to work like a lot on the front end with Particle.js and stuff, but your site's also seems pretty, data orientated. Did you enjoy the front end more or the back end in this project?
I'm very torn between the front end and the back end for this project. I have a background in graphic design, so I obviously enjoy designing things and making them look nice. I struggle, but being that as it is, I struggled more with the front end than I did with the back end. The back end I was able to breeze through a little bit easier. I enjoyed both, but I think the front end I nitpicked a little bit more. The back end was like, okay, can I get this to work? And the front end was where I was running into more like issues.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm kind of the same way, so I can feel you on that. Awesome job.
Thank you so much.
Sweet. Thank you, Caitlin. Also, I have a question. Is this a Princess Mononoke reference?
I don't actually know.
That would be a no, but basically this, if anyone has seen Princess Mononoke, you might know what I'm talking about. This kind of gives me that sort of a feel with the little guys with the heads.
It reminds me of Avatar too.
A little bit Avatar, yeah, Pandora-esque too. It's awesome. Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Caitlin. And our next presenter is going to be Benjamin F. If you are speaking, we cannot hear you. You might need to change your microphone settings real quick. Probably on Zoom is where you would be changing your settings.
Okay, cool. Can you hear me? Awesome. All right. Hi, I'm Benjamin, coming at you from the 215. I made a website that is basically like there's this problem, right? You have Reddit, but you don't have Reddit for misanthropes. So I made a Reddit that's all downvotes. And this is kind of how the site looks on the landing page. So let's go ahead and create a user. Call him James. Using a nice little picture. Good. And give him password. And let him log in. And so this is James is viewing this, so he can downvote some of these posts. And like you can look at other people's profiles. Like here's Sean's profile, and like he's got all his posts. Yeah, Adam. You have all his posts, and see if you look at the posts, you see the most hated post is sticky throughout, so you can always see wherever you are that's like the big post on the site. And lots of comments. You see you can like tag other people in comments. So like, you know, James read this article and you know he's into it, but you don't want to say fashion, you say like stimulating, you know. You can also say he wants to make sure that Adam will get it, because there is a notification for if somebody comments on your post. But just to make sure that Adam gets this, he's going to say, hey, Adam, let's see. Here. Like, you seem to have a good sense of the issues. And so if I go to Adam's profile, you see he's got all these notifications, and they delete on mouse over, so they just show up when you log in. And you can click on these. Let's log back in as James real quick. James can create a post. So say like this. You can upload a picture. But he actually decided that he didn't want to use that picture, so he can change the picture. It's a little more relevant, I think. And that's nice. I think that yeah, so one of the other things that it does is James really shouldn't be on the site. He never wanted to be in the first place. But if you go to oh, wait a minute. No, this would be if Adam. But if Adam were to have commented and tagged James in the post, the tag would have gone away, but it would have left the comment. But I did it in the wrong order. Sorry. And that's about it in terms of the features for the site. If I would like to add more stuff to it, I guess I would probably continue to just follow the Reddit model and like have like subreddits and things of that nature. But for the most part, I tried to create something that was pretty sleek. So I wanted to make something that worked well without being too complicated. Thanks for listening.
Nice job, Ben. I think your mindset on simplicity, you did a good job on this with that. One of my questions for you is, what was the feature you hated implementing the most?
The first thing that I did that used that really had to use the most like conditional logic was the downvote button. Because that was like, okay, here are all my models, here are all my attributes and everything. I have to take that and I have to make sure the blue button shows up or the red button shows up, and then the number changes. And it helped me learn, because I'm new to this, so it helped me learn like how JavaScript stores data on the front end versus how the data is stored on the back end, I guess, or how it's sort of or how information is stored on the front end, I guess, is a better way of saying it.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome. And then what would you say, like, this is not just the project, but what was like one of the biggest challenges you ran into like during the course and trying to complete this project on time? It could be with this project, personal, whatever you want, but just curious.
So like any kind of challenge I ran into for the course?
Yeah, like what as a developer, what kind of challenges did you run into trying to complete this project?
Oh, this project in particular?
Sure.
Okay. I guess I didn't find this project terribly challenging. I really tried to stay within the bounds of what I felt like I could accomplish and have something that worked, because I was really afraid of having all of these great things that don't add up to anything. Yeah. So I guess the biggest challenge for me was making sure I stayed within those bounds.
Yeah, that's a tough one for I think a lot of developers to I like to think ahead a lot, so having your kind of mindset would definitely be helpful for me. So, great job, man.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Benjamin. Yeah, I do force you guys to scope, and Benjamin did an amazing job of scoping himself, and I didn't have to push him much to scope as I did with some of the rest of you. All right, so our very last presenter is going to be Sarah. So Sarah, please end us with your amazing firework of project.
No pressure. Okay, so my name's Sarah Heimerdinger. I'm in Chicago, and this is my project called Aisle 1. I really hate planning what I'm gonna eat for the week. And so I spend all my time on Pinterest and Instagram saving recipes, but then when it comes time to actually go shopping, you then have to transpose all of those recipes, and that's pain. So I come from an ecom background. I worked for a fast fashion website, so I was like, oh, you could make a store of recipes, and the items would be, your ingredients. It would be so simple. Not necessarily simple, but definitely the inspiration that brought me here. So when you come to aisle 1, here's your homepage, and you can start your grocery run. So this will prompt you to sign up. For time purposes, I'm just going to use my username, Jerry. When Jerry logs in, he can see shortcuts to his favorites, his cart, and his shopping list. He can search recipes here by keyword, or he can go and get some inspiration from these little slider images here. So I'm inspired by salmon, so we're going to view more of that. So here there'll be more salmon-inspired recipes that he can shop through. This lemon planked smoked salmon looks good, so he can favorite that, and he'll add it to his favorites. Jerry needs to eat more broccoli, so he's going to search for broccoli, but he wants fancy broccoli. You can search by cuisine, so we're going to do Indian broccoli. And then that'll bring up a bunch of recipes that are Indian inspired and have broccoli in the ingredients. So we can sort here by the title. You can also sort by the minutes that it takes to make it. So we're going to go with the shortest one here, this broccoli curry. Can come to the details page and see all the ingredients that you need here, the instructions to it, and then a link to the original recipe. And then from here, he can also add it to his favorites or add it to his cart. He's going to add this to his cart because we're definitely cooking that. So take a look at the favorites. This takes a little bit of time to populate. This app is actually built on a third-party API called Spoonacular. So for each favorite, it's actually making an individual call to the API, which was a pain point in the process of building this. So here we can see all of the things that Jerry saved and all of his favorites. If it's in his cart, you can see that it's in the cart. You can remove it here. You can remove a favorite. We don't like kale anymore, so we can remove the favorite. I think I want to make these butternut squash noodles, so I'll add it to the cart. There's also this drop down here where you can search by cuisine again or search by the meal type. We're going to add some breakfast to the cart. Again, sorting by minutes or sorting by title. We'll do the shortest one here again. And you can add it to the cart straight from this page as well. And then when you hover, it shows that it's now in your favorites and in your cart. So we can go look at Jerry's cart. And these are the recipes that he's going to make tonight. And then we can actually populate a shopping list. So the shopping list will show every ingredient that you need and then the amount that you need for each recipe. So if you don't want to put salt and pepper into your vegetarian chili, you don't need to worry about those 4 servings. If you already have salt, you can add it and it'll go into the shopped items down here at the bottom. So as you're kind of putting things together, you can click these and know that it's been shopped and clear your list out. You can also sort these by aisle. So all of the canned and jarred, this is kind of like a navigating through the grocery store moment. Or you can sort it by ingredient A to Z as well. Take it back to the cart. And once you're done shopping, you can clear the cart and everything will go away. And now you can start again and start a new cart. And that's basically the whole functionality. Using the third-party API was definitely a pain point. Not being in control of the way that the data is presented. So sometimes I get really weird instructions or no instructions at all, or a picture that's really gross and doesn't look appetizing at all in the search. That was definitely the hardest part of it. Future implementations, I definitely want to be able to save shopping lists that you could revisit it and be like, oh, I shopped for these 5 recipes. Now I can look at the recipes when I need to go cook them. And they're all kind of saved together. Being able to make folders in the favorites would be really cool. You know, separating them by categories. I have all these cocktail recipes that I'm saving. A social media function would be pretty cool, like being able to add your own recipes and saving other users' recipes is definitely deep in the icebox as far as features go. Yeah, that's basically it.
Awesome job on this. I think it's really cool how simple and useful it is, but still has like a lot of functionality in there as well.
Thank you.
What would you say the most fun thing to work on was for this project?
Surprisingly, it was the front end. I didn't really love learning front end in class because it's so tedious and it was frustrating, but I actually had a lot of fun putting my theme in and kind of got into like the style sheets and changing around a lot of stuff to make it more custom for me. That the theme that I downloaded had so much stuff on it, and I really wanted it to be kind of a clean and simple so that you could open it on mobile, like on a mobile browser, and have it not be just insane with sidebars and stuff.
What do you think the biggest thing you had to learn was for this site? Was it like working with data, or what was like a learning challenge you had?
I think it was the API stuff for sure. Kind of like parsing through someone else's data instead of making your own. You know, like if I could just enter all of my ingredients, that would be great. My initial plan for the list was that it would consolidate all of the ingredients into one. So, you know, if you need 2 eggs for this recipe and 3 eggs for another, it would just give you 5 eggs. But the way that the data was on the API, it's one serving or one pinch or one handful. And so actually writing conversion logic when I actually sat down to do it was extremely challenging. But I think I ended up with a better version, like listing the recipes, because then you have kind of an understanding of why you're buying ancho chili powder.
Yeah. Awesome. Great job. This was fantastic.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sarah didn't want to brag too much about all of this crazy logic she did in her back end, but she totally did. And she wrote a lot of really cool logic to get those ingredients to populate from the third-party API because, going through it, you've got a recipe that has ingredients in one format, a different recipe has ingredients in a completely different format. So she did a really great job consolidating that and making the list, 5 pinches or 5 handfuls, making that appear nice and actually look good with the data that she was given. So commendable job on that. Awesome. Thank you guys so much. This was all of our presentations. You guys all did such an amazing job. I am seriously so impressed. I've been teaching at Actualize for a while, and I'm seriously impressed every single time by what you guys are able to accomplish in just these few short months. You guys have had just weeks working on these projects, and you've built full stack applications. And of course, we all wish that there's more things that we can implement, but we have time constraints, and that's part of being a developer, right? We've learned that now, that part of being a developer comes with being able to scope yourself to have some sort of a deliverable. And of course, I hope that you guys will all continue to work on these projects and implement all of those amazing features that you want to, and make this sort of your dream project. But it is your first project, and I'm seriously, again, so impressed by you guys. So thank you so much. I'll steal the screen share from you. Alrighty. Sweet. All right, so to wrap up, that's pretty much going to do it for today. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank my panelists for coming and asking questions. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jay. Thank you to my awesome TAs, of course, for being here every single day and helping the students reach their goals. And I'll toss it back over to Jay for just a moment, just to sort of close out any closing words that you want to mention, Jay.
I just want to echo what Danny said. These projects are fantastic. They are amazing and super impressive. And all the functionality, the styling, it all really came together, and I was super impressed. I've seen a couple hundred of these by now, and these blew me away. So nice job, everyone, and congrats on doing it.
Yeah.
Danny, do you explain what this website is?
Sure, yes, I will totally explain what this website is. We're looking at the Actualize website. Anyone can learn to code. Years equal to 1883. This is our old website. If you actually are on our regular website and you scroll all the way down to the bottom footer, you'll see there's a little link down here for the old site. And if you click on that, it actually takes you to Actualize's old site. We have been fully functioning boot camp since 1883, as you can see here. And it's based
oldest coding boot camp.
We're the
by far
oldest coding boot camp in existence, 1883. We basically replicated the website as it currently lives, but with old-timey pictures of ourselves. Is the good one of me looking at something deeply while holding a telephone and speaking to a student on the other end. Yeah, we had a ton of fun shooting this in Chicago in April, and we just built this old website. It's fantastic. Yeah, for anyone out there, Actualize has a sense of humor. We are the boot camp that is humorous. Here we are. So again, I want to thank all my awesome students for presenting. Congratulations to you all. You did it. Raise our fake glass that we don't have to all of you. And to everyone watching on the YouTube live broadcast and watching at a later date, thank you so much for watching and tuning in. And have a wonderful rest of your day. And I will stop this broadcast now.